Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the best podcast in the Southeast, the Footy Ramble. I'm your host, Matt, and I'm joined by your co-host, Rocky. How you going, mate?
Good, and I'm glad you used my my line about the best podcast in the Southeast as well.
Yeah, I know.
'Cause I know you didn't like that.
I haven't
So I'm
used
glad
it
you
the
used
last couple of weeks, but yeah, I decided to whack it in this week. But we're also joined by
Very happy.
another special guest. So this week we've got him on for the entire episode. So we had the Bev show last week for those who watched, and we've gone even higher, and we brought on Scotty Boy. So he's come on for this week. How you
Scotty
going there,
boy.
mate?
It wasn't a very good call following the Bev show, but I'm good, mate. How are you?
Good.
Thanks for having me.
No stress, mate. We're happy to have you. So probably just push straight onto it. There's some big news coming out of your team, Rocky. So you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so Bobby Hill from the Giants has nominated Essendon as his preferred destination, which, as a Bombers fan, as long as we don't give up too much for him, then I'm really happy for him to be at the club. It's a trend, you know, like any Giants player that wants to leave, Essendon hops at the opportunity. Like we had Devin Smith, Dylan Shield, now Bobby Hill, and I'm sure there's Jai Caldwell as well. So that's 4 or 5 players there. So yeah, Bobby Hill, small forward, dangerous pairing with Tipper. Yeah. So yeah, that's all I really have to say about that. He's got potential, but yeah, as long as we don't give up too much for him, he'll be a sweet pickup for us.
Fair enough. Yeah, he is quite an exciting talent. So as you said, as long as you don't pay the world for him, it will be a good pickup. We've also had, in other news, Callum Coleman Jones and Robbie Tarrant have done a swap. So Coleman Jones has gone to North Melbourne and Tarrant's gone to Richmond. So I think that's a good deal for both clubs. New key forward to help support Nick Larkey. And they keep saying Cam Zerha, but he's not really a tall forward. So good support up there. And then obviously for Richmond, it's a Tarrant direct replacement for Asprey. So I think that one's a pretty fair trade. A few picks went between the two teams as well. Now we've got the Will Brodie trade. I wanted to quickly highlight this. The Dockers get a Brodie, who was a top 10 pick, a former top 10 pick, 19, 61 and 69, and Gold Coast get a future second and a future fourth. So that one in my head makes absolutely no sense. I don't know about you two, but that makes absolutely zero sense in my head. That's probably just salary cap dump, in my opinion.
Yeah, probably. I don't really have too much on this because I haven't looked into it too much, but yeah, it does seem it doesn't seem to make any sense at all. I'm not sure what you think, Scotty, but yeah, it is.
Yeah, I mean, this is really average, but I don't know who Will Brodie is. But yeah, like I mean, it's 4 players for 2. Like it's not. I don't know. It's a bit odd. But
yeah, it's definitely just fire sale salary cap issues up at Gold Coast, and they're just getting rid of a midfielder that's probably not going to really play. As you said, not many people know him because he doesn't get a lot of games, but he's an inside midfielder that will hopefully get a good run at the Dockers. Leading on to another inside midfielder that was linked to the Dockers, and we were talking about was that a potential good link to the Dockers. Luke Dunstan decides to go to Melbourne. We'll start off with Scotty. What are your thoughts on that? Because obviously Melbourne have won the premiership and have a very strong midfield, and this guy who wants more of a go goes to a club where he's not going to get much of a go.
I mean, if you consider Petrarca and Oliver as being in the top 3 midfielders in the comp, neither of them can win the Brownlow. What makes this bloke who I've never heard of think that he's going to get more of a run in their midfield? Doesn't seem ideal for him, but oh well, that's what he wants.
He did poll 11 votes this year for St Kilda, so he had a decent back half of the season, but I just feel like for a man that wants more opportunity to go into a team with one of the best midfielders in the comp, ain't going to do much for him.
Yeah.
100%. I feel like with this, obviously he had a good, second half of the season. And then, he Saints let him go. you'd think that you'd want to go to a club where you can get a little bit more playing time, right? But it was so weird. Like he had interest in like Essendon as well. And I'm like, but you're not going to get playing time at Essendon. Oh, maybe you will, but we've already got like our midfield, like we've already got enough players, so we don't need another midfielder to add to the, that's why we've shown interest in someone like Bobby Hill, because he's a small forward. We need some strength up there. So for him to go to Melbourne, I'm not really sure how he'll fit in, but I mean, he's going to a successful club, so I'm sure he's not complaining about that. But hopefully, he can get some playing time as well, because he's a really good player. So it would just be wasted, if he doesn't play. So
yeah, for sure.
So yeah.
And another one, Finn Leeson to Port Adelaide. So I think that was one that we talked about the other weeks. Bit pointless in my opinion. Probably is going to be the Peter Laddams like replacement. Play a bit of ruck time, play forward as a key tool. So it kind of makes sense. But if Laddams at this point hasn't got to move to a different club, if he ends up staying at Port Adelaide, it's going to really starve one of those two of some good opportunities. We've also had Toby Green's suspension increased to 6 weeks, which seems a bit ridiculous. All right, if we were the tribunal, what would we be giving Toby Green? What would you two give him?
I might let Rocky go first because I might end up on a rant about this.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so with my thoughts about this, and we've already talked about this, Matt, like we said, okay, maybe a fine or a couple games or something. We weren't really too fussed about it. Then obviously, what did he get in the end? Like 3 weeks or something? Was that correct? 3 weeks?
It was like 3 weeks to guarantee he couldn't play in the grand final, and they were going to reassess.
Yeah. So yeah, and then for them to up to 6 weeks, I get that they're trying to send a message, or maybe that's the intention, but at the same time, I feel like it's pretty harsh. So if you were going to up it, maybe up it to 4 or 5 weeks. But yeah, Scott, you go ahead. I know you got some things boiling there, so go ahead.
Well, yeah, look, I just think it's a horrible look, having players touching umpires. I know it happens a lot, but the way it was just malice. It just, I don't know, I really didn't like it. It didn't sit well with me at all. And I just reckon it was good for them to make an example out of him with it. You can say the punishment was too harsh, but I'm just like, you don't want kids, thinking that's all right or getting that in their heads. I'm happy with 6 weeks, but yeah.
Would you have given him any more?
I don't think I would have given him much more, no. But I mean, they were saying, some people I heard on the radio saying 12 weeks, and I'm like, that's ridiculous. But yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think this 6 weeks is enough to get the point across that they want to get across. So
exactly,
I concur. It's definitely not a message that we want to be sending around, that we can get away with doing stuff like that to the umpires. Probably 6 weeks, in my opinion, is a little bit too much. But look, it's what's happened. Maybe 3 games would have sat more comfortably with me. So if they only made 1 week of finals, he misses 2 weeks the next season. If they make 2 weeks of finals, then he only misses 1 next season or something like that. That may be all right. Just think that's a little bit too much. But hey, they've made the decision. It's 6 weeks, and they're definitely going to stamp that out of the game with that sort of punishment. So you can see both sides of the argument. But yeah, that's pretty much case closed now. And finally, we've got Tim O'Brien to the Bulldogs. So apparently he's going to play as a key defender to help support Alex Keith, Ryan Gardner, and Zane Cordy. So I think that's another good addition. They pretty much got for free, and that will help that grand final team push on to potentially be a grand final winning team. But the reason we got Scott here today was to talk about Carlton. So we're gonna push on to all the Carlton news, because these guys have been, well, let's just say the destination club of the trade period, eh?
I mean, we were last year, and I believe to a certain extent the season before, and it hasn't helped that much.
I mean, this year it's done pretty well by the pool that you got.
Yeah, well, I mean, we got Williams and Sard last season, and only one of those two ended up being any good for us. Williams with a horrible season. horrible season for an average player, let alone someone who was meant to be like a star signing for us. But
you guys giving it like 800,000 or something for a
yeah,
season?
well, yeah, it was. I think it was 850 or close to 850.
Yeah, the thing that didn't sit right with me about him was the fact that he was supposed to be a midfielder and he ended up playing halfback because he was unfit. Like, I could understand he doesn't gel with the midfield, or, you know, the personnel change, someone plays well and breaks into that midfield, and the only way for him to get a game is off halfback. But getting 850,000 a year and playing halfback because you rocked up to the club in a bad shape doesn't sit right with me. But to be fair, this year you guys are making moves. So you've got Adam Chera for pick 6 and a future third. What do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
I'm pretty happy about it. I mean, I'm happy to just see where things go. Like, I'm not really too fussed about the draft picks. I'm happy to get someone who's firing on all cylinders now. And
So
yeah,
from your opinion, you think that you guys are pretty close to that window where you can start pushing for a premiership?
premiership? No, probably not. Maybe. I mean, I'm hoping for a top 8 this season. That'd be good. We'll have to see what happens, really.
Yeah. So you've also got Lewis Young for pick 52 as a key defensive reinforcement for Liam Jones and Jacob Wiedering. Probably pushes Lockie Plowman out of the side, which I know one person that we both know, shout out to Dan Reed, absolutely hates Lockie Plowman. He'll probably get pushed out of the team.
My brother and myself as well.
Yeah, so the whole crew.
Although of all three of them, I probably hate him the least, but that isn't saying a lot.
Yeah, because there's been plenty of rants about Lockie Plowman.
Oh, yeah.
From everyone, but
from all angles.
Yeah, pretty much. And George Hewitt as well. Bit of inside grunt, pretty much an Ed Kerno like for like.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that one?
Well, I mean, it's just exciting stuff getting new blood in the team. I think that we've just shown glimpses the last few seasons, and players not performing, injuries, getting unlucky, not finishing out the good games. I think that adding players who we think can improve the side even a little bit could have a drastic chance once they are a drastic effect. Once the luck starts to go our way and whatnot. So
And I mean, you've got plenty of talent as well still to come in, like young talent in your team. Obviously, you got Walsh. He's the big one. Mackay is pretty young. Wiedering. Liam Stocker. I highly rate Liam Stocker.
Paddy Dow started to turn it on.
Paddy Dow, Matty Kennedy towards the back end of the last season was playing well as well. Who else? Zach Fisher as a permanent key forward last year. Permanent small forward last year. He did really
Charlie
well.
Curnow coming back.
Yeah. So 2 years out of the game for him. So it was good to get a couple of games under his belt and hit the preseason hard, and we'll be right to go next year. And then obviously the big one was your new coach, Michael Voss. What did you think of that one? Was he your first pick or?
Oh, I didn't think very much, to be honest. I just thought we need someone to coach the team. Like, we need to sign someone at some point. But a lot of people, he's been pretty divisive, I think, coming in. People seem to either love him or hate him, but I don't really have much of, I'm just willing to see what he does. And if he does any good, that's good. If not, whatever. It's not like we've been, close to winning flags or anything recently. So, happy to just see how he goes and what happens from here.
Hopefully you guys give him a chance. Because, not trying to, roast Carlton, but obviously with, previous coaches, I don't think you've given them much of a chance, especially with, Teague recently. So I feel like with Voss, if you give him some time and you give him, the full support, because obviously Teague claimed that there was no support and, he didn't feel he didn't feel that he was getting enough support. So hopefully Voss can get support and actually have some time, to lead the club to hopefully a successful state. And this comes from an Essendon fan, so that's the nicest thing I can say. So
yeah. Well, I mean, I'll say that I would have been very happy for the club to have given him more time.
Yeah. Yes.
To have given Teague more time.
You were still happy with Teague being there?
Yeah, I was happy with him being there. I know the performance wasn't great, but like, I don't know. I just feel like he wasn't failing, I thought, but the board saw it differently, and whatever. What's done is done now, and we've got Vossi and new start, some new players, and yeah, new beginnings for us, hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. Now, a couple of departures as well. You had Sam Patriski-Seaton go to the Eagles for pick 52, which ended up trading in Lewis Young. Bit of a loss. What are your thoughts on that one?
I do rate him. I do. He doesn't get his hands on the footy enough. That's my only real criticism of him. But not distraught about it. To be getting something quality back is probably a good result. But yeah, if he wants to go home, fair enough.
In terms of his best position, because you guys used to play him a lot off the half back, what do you think his best position is? Because he plays inside mid, outside mid, half forward, flank.
I feel like on a wing is probably where I like him being. But yeah. When I was actually going to the footy, I feel like I saw him a lot on the wing, and I was quite impressed with what I saw. But yeah, didn't get his hands on the footy enough.
And then we've got bets to Geelong. So he was supposedly like given a non-footballing role at Carlton, and then he decided to take the job at Geelong as a coach.
I believe it was a marketing position, and he sort of said, I want to be working around footy. I like footy. Geelong offered him a job he liked, and he's taken it. So
yeah,
good on him. It's definitely not the first time where Carlton hasn't offered him what he wants and he's left. So
yeah,
it's standard at this point.
We're having a bit of deja vu, eh?
Yeah.
And then also, not someone that we've really had on that planning doc, but Michael Gibbons. What are your thoughts on that one? Because I thought he was very stiff.
No. You've opened a can of worms here, because how some players are on our senior list and we're dropping Gibbons is beyond me. For one, I know he's a cult hero, but Cottrell, like, just not the same, is it? Like, I just feel like Gibbons just showed so much, especially like out of the gate as well. Like, just came into the side after being at Williamstown for way too long. I was when Ryan told me that he'd been dropped, but my brother told me that he'd been dropped. I didn't believe him. Sure enough,
it was a little bit of a shock to everyone, I think, including myself. I don't know about you, Rocky, but have you watched a lot of Michael Gibbons?
Yeah, of course. And Scott pretty much said it. Like, I was also very surprised, and yeah, I mean, but what can you do?
Pick him up at Essendon?
We could. Someone could pick him up.
Maybe
easy, yeah.
I don't think he'd come to Brisbane, but maybe Essendon. Would you take him?
Yes.
You love Gibbons?
Yeah, of course. Like, if he's interested and he wants to come to Essendon, I'm sure Adrian Dodoro, will have a place for him. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Fair enough. So we're going to push on to your season review here, Scott, with Carlton. So we'll just run through the standard questions that we kind of go through. Who do you reckon your best player was over the season?
Well, it's pretty easy to say Walshy, but
if you were to pick someone other than Walsh.
Oh, if I was to pick someone other than Walsh.
Like, who's your second best player? Because I think everyone knew that Walsh was clearly your best player.
Yeah. Well, then I suppose Mackay, but Mackay's in a bit of a league of his own because he was just doing all the goal kicking. He wasn't really playing around the ground like everyone else was. I don't really know about surprising player, but a player that did surprise me in the back half of the season again was Dow. Someone who's been in the side as like a shoe-in, like in the past, and has now come back in again and start in the game, in the Freo game. and carried that through to other games too. I thought that was really impressive.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking for your best player, would you put Wiedering as your second best? And also
yeah.
the sensitive question, did he get snubbed of All Australian?
Yes, he got snubbed of All Australian. I don't even have to rant about that. That's just the case. That's just what it is.
But what about the big Suvlaki kicking 7 on him?
Who's that?
Nick Larkey.
Oh, I don't know. Don't remember that. I must have been watching. Well, I mean, it can happen. It happens.
Fair enough. Well,
there's not a lot of mercy for defenders when that happens.
True.
But, yeah.
Liam Jones with 101 intercept marks as well, or whatever the hell that figure was.
Liam Jones just has redesigned his career, really, because he was just a crap forward, and then we ended up with him, and we were like, oh, go down back for a game, and punched everything into row Z of tier 3, and then he hasn't moved since. He hasn't left the defensive goal square for
Fair
6
enough.
years or whatever it's been.
Yeah. Disappointment of the season. So what's that? Disappointing player, was there? I mean, I'm sure there was a few.
It was
Sorry.
thanks for that, Rocky. You've just slid that under the fence there. That was cheeky. I would say it was the North Melbourne game. We had no right to be playing finals, and yet our must-win game was against the bottom team. And not only did we lose, but we got our asses handed to us. So it was just very disappointing.
I mean, it was very intriguing to see that. I mean, there was some post-match review that they were doing, and you guys were just like, your defenders were in it like Morven when you guys were supposed to be at bloody the Gabba. Like, you guys were everywhere where you weren't supposed to be, compared to like actually sticking to your man. Because I reckon that's what cost Teague a little bit as well. It was a bit of that not getting backs, but I think that they were just looking at his overall strategy going, well, what the hell is he doing sometimes? I mean, I don't know from a Carlton perspective what you guys must have been thinking.
I mean, we were thinking that we've just come off this incredible win against the Dockers, where Walsh sort of once again cemented himself as one of the best celebrators in the league. And then we do that against the bottom side, and it's like, oof. Yeah, just average.
Fair enough. So I think we know where this one's going. Best win of the season / moment. So it can be a bit of both, because I mean, you guys, you've completely forgotten about the Sam Doherty, everyone getting their head shaved to get around Doherty. So that's a pretty good culture that looks like you guys have got amongst your playing group. But in terms of best win,
excellent to see all that getting him behind him, because it is a really horrible thing. Best win. Well, I mean, I think the Freo game is pretty good. We beat Collingwood, didn't we?
Yeah, at the G.
That was big for me. I remember that happening.
How many Collingwood fans did you message that night and just say, "Hey, look, boys"?
Carlton's no good. I don't do that. I don't have the balls for that. I wouldn't do it. I do not really text anyone.
Mate, my team was bad for 5 years, and we've only been good for the last like 2 or 3, and I still message people. Don't worry.
Yeah, but you have been good for the last 2 or 3. That's the difference.
Yeah, fair enough. But we were bottom of the ladder for the previous 5, so you could almost say, and we've had 2 straight sets in the last 3. So, I mean, we're getting there, but we're not getting it done. But, I mean,
would you say the Essendon win was like another pretty good moment for the season? Because I went to the game. Obviously, it sucks that Essendon lost, but you guys played pretty well, to be honest. Would you say that was a pretty good win then?
That was a good win. That was solid. I would class it as solid. It was it was just good to see for me. Like there was no like jumping up and down, like thinking that things were changing or whatever. It was just good to see a talented group of guys actually get a win. And it's not like we were a shoo-in against you guys or anything. It was a proper game. Yeah. So yeah, it was good.
100%.
What
Okay,
about
so-
the Brisbane win?
We beat Brisbane this season.
No, I was just saying that Brisbane beating you was a good win.
Oh,
No,
it
you
probably
guys-
was, yeah.
You guys
I was going to
broke-
say, when you said that, I'm like, surely not. Surely we didn't
No.
beat you.
No, we beat you by 20 odd points. But you broke Lockie
That's not
Neal's
too bad.
ankle, so you did something right.
I
Well,
don't remember that.
for the perspective of because he was out for 6 weeks with syndesmosis. Oh, I think I pronounced that right.
I had that syndesmosis. Yeah.
Yes.
You guys would know exactly when I got that.
Yeah. Gee, let's put a picture up for all the viewers of Scott's ankle when he got syndesmosis.
Oh please, if you put that in shorts, that's gonna be so funny.
I know.
Hey.
So for all those who can't see or who don't follow the Instagram, go follow to find out what Scott's ankle will look like after a game of basketball. He did a Charlie Curnow. He embraced the Carlton lifestyle and did a Charlie Curnow and
Yeah.
just snapped his ankle.
You were mentioning before how good the culture is, so I was getting involved.
Exactly. Would you say letter grade for the season?
Oh,
Huge.
I'll give it a D plus.
D plus. So what were your
Fair enough.
expectations going into the season?
I mean, my expectations weren't too dissimilar to what happened.
So you
I
weren't
just
thinking
think.
eight?
What was that?
You weren't thinking top eight?
Oh, I was hoping top eight. I definitely wasn't thinking that was going to happen. That's not what I was expecting, but I just think that it was disappointing to not close out a really good finals run. And we have had a history in the last few years of just losing by less than 2 goals and not closing out close games, which happens. But yeah, it's like it was disappointing, but I wasn't thinking we were contenders to do very much.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, everyone. Okay, I'm going to go on a little rant here. Everyone says that Carlton are the next Brisbane, that team that's kind of waiting to explode. You guys have probably been poor longer than we did, but that's that team that's just got that list and that squad that's going to be able to just take off. I mean, you look at the age demographic of where we were when we took off compared to where you are, and I feel like you've just got too much deadwood at the club still to do that, and not enough good young talent. Like we've mentioned some of the good young talent, but I still think there are some guys on your list that I look at and go, are they really the people to bring you back to finals? I mean, in my opinion, your midfield's pretty decent, especially if Zach Williams pushes in. And with George Hewitt and Adam Chera to round that up, that's good. Your back line is got the personnel, but it doesn't have the coaching, if that makes sense. Like I think your key defense sorted. I think maybe you might lack like a lockdown defender, a lockdown small defender. That might be your only issue. But I just think that, and I'm going to go back to what Reedy said. He perfectly summed up the fact that all 6 of your players want to peel off, but none of them will actually stick to their man.
Yeah.
Would you say that's a fair assessment?
I'd say it's a fair assessment.
And then your forward line, you have Curnow's coming back. Mackay, he's pretty good. Zach Fisher will be a star. I think your forward line's probably your weakest area. I'm not sure if I'm forgetting anyone major in your forward line.
Yeah, and this actually goes all the way back to surprising player who I said I didn't have one of. I actually remembered who my surprising players are. I've got 2 of them. Matt Owies. I say Owies because it's like, like owl, like you've hurt yourself. Yeah. And Josh Honey. Just goals consistently. Like when they came in, they debuted last season. I think both of them were given 2 games and did nothing and never got back in the side. And then I'm not sure how exactly both of them got back in it again, but they've just, been solid, dependable.
Wasn't Fisher injured for a while at the start of the season?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
so that's
I think
probably
he might have been injured multiple times because I feel like he hasn't really played. But
yeah, I reckon that's
he's real goal hungry. He's real goal sneak.
Is that Owies or?
Fisher.
Fisher. Well, yeah, because he was a midfielder, wasn't he? That has kind of reinvented himself as a small forward under the tutelage of Eddie Betts. So Geelong have obviously picked up a pretty good coach if he's going there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's done that development with Zach Fisher.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if Eddie's got an official job, but he is taking on more responsibilities with the AFL, doing lots for like anti-racism, which is good to see because you can never have enough of that sort of thing, and he's really passionate about it. So I'm sure that in retirement he'll be very happy to have that role. He'll be proud of himself.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. Now, Rocky,
What?
you're supposed to be saying what's next, you peanut.
Oh, I thought we already talked about it. Okay.
No,
So-
what's next, you peanut?
We'll cut that out. All right. So what's next for Carlton, Scotty?
What is this, a prediction of some kind?
Prediction.
Yeah. So like next season, any more, players come to the club. What's going to happen in the future? What's happening for Carlton?
Well,
What do you want?
Or what do you want to see happen to Carlton?
I would like to see top 8 finish, but it's not. It doesn't just. Our history has shown that you can't just buy players and go, "Yep, we're in here." But another season of hard slog and taking the each win for what it is. Like I'm happy to do the next season the same way I did this season and just base it the expectations off what happened last season, and any improvements that we make are great, and if it gets worse then we'll obviously have to reassess. But yeah, I don't have heaps on what I think is going to happen, but it seems like we're heading in the right direction.
So you are confident that you guys will eventually, whether it be next year, 3 years, 5 years, probably 5 is a little bit too much, but over the next 2 to 3 years, you guys will be back in finals with the right coaching under Voss, with players you're bringing in, with new blood coming through the draft. You guys think that you're capable of getting back to top 8?
I think we are capable, but yeah, a lot easier said than done.
Yeah, for sure, especially with I think everyone expecting potentially 13 or 14 teams next season to be able to qualify for finals with the teams that they've got. I think those top 8 spots are becoming even more difficult to get a grip on. So I think that potentially Carlton may get lucky. I suppose it comes down to a few things. This is where the really important stuff. Can anyone unearth any spectacular players at the draft that no one's expected, or how does the fixture come into play in terms of whose runs homes are easier, or our teams getting easier fixtures than others? And I think that will all contribute to what happens to Carlton.
Also, I'm not sure if you guys have talked about this. I'm a big fan of the podcast, and it is an honor to be here. I'm not sure if you've discussed whether or not we think that there'll be fans at the games next year. What do you reckon is going to happen?
That's something we haven't really considered, but you raise a good point. I think there will. I think that with all the vaccines going around, we'll have between now and March, April, when the season starts, to get started on that. And I think that's probably we'll be right.
Yeah, and they're expecting. Well, Dan Andrews said 10,000 at the Melbourne Cup this year, and then hopefully we'll reach our targets of 70%, 80%, 90%, and whatnot, and then I think we'll be all right by next year, Feb, March. There'll be crowds, and things are looking up. Things are looking up, which is the main thing. So yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's I'm still not allowed out of my house, and yet, I'm meant to be going to a wedding in 30 days, and I'm like, well.
Yeah.
So yeah, you never know. It can swing both ways, but hopefully, with the vaccines, we start to see less deaths and stuff. So That'd be great. Less infections.
So that's the episode done for the week. Thanks, Scott, for coming on and talking about Carlton. And yeah, tune in next week. I don't know what team we're going to be doing next week, but same old general news, trades, anything that's going on. And yeah, season review. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, Spotify, check us out on YouTube, all that kind of jazz. And yeah, this is the Footy Ramble with Matt, Scott, and Rocky. See you later.